Hi everyone, welcome to the series on microservices in .NET 6. So this series contains total 5 videos. This is the first video. It's about the introduction of the microservice architecture. Okay. So before going to understand the microservices, we just go through the existing most common architecture, that is monolithic architecture. Okay, monolithic is a traditional or most commonly used for developing the application. Okay, in this approach, all the business units or logics are implemented under a single application. So monolithic means single. Under single application only, we are going to build all our business logic inside of our application. Okay, and it's most probably communicate with a single database for serving the data in the application. Okay, so monolithic architecture just look like this. So let's think like we have two endpoints like product API and orders API. So if you follow monolithic architecture, what we are going to do? We are going to create them in the single web API application, right? So like this, if you have n number of endpoints, all the n number of endpoints will be under the single application and they're going to consume single database, right? So this is how monolithic architecture works. Now let's understand microservice architecture. So in microservice architecture, each business unit or logic is developed as a separate small individual application. Okay. Here we are separating into small apps. That is nothing but microservices. Okay. So each separate application is lightweight. Okay. Since we are separating, and they have their own responsibility to carry on, and these individual services are called microservices. Okay, splitting of a big logic into small logic as small applications is a microservice architecture. Okay, so in microservice, each service has its own code and a own database, right? So in monolithic, we can see single database inside of the single application every endpoint consumes, right? But in the microservice, every individual application or microservice has its own database. Okay. So any service down. Okay. So each are divided into individual applications, right? So each will be hosted individually. So if one microservice is down, it won't affect another services because they are not dependent on each other, right? So whereas in monolithic, every logic is under single application, right? So if one is down, entire application might be down. Okay. So each microservice can be hosted anywhere in the web app. So they are very small, lightweight applications, right? So they can be hosted on anywhere in the web, and each microservice can be interacted with own individual database. So each has its own database and their own respective tables. Okay, and this database can be either can be SQL or MongoDB. Okay, for suppose if I have two microservices, one microservice can consume SQL database and another microservice can consume MongoDB, something like that. Okay, so this is the microservice architecture, and you can see here we are separated at the small applications. Like one application contains product API endpoint, and another microservice application contains orders API. And here you can see it has its own DB, like products API consumes DB like manufacturer database, and order API consumes like sales business database. Okay. So there might be a chance we need some information between the two microservices. So in that case, we can use RabbitMQ, RabbitMQ message broker for asynchronous communication between the two microservices. Okay. So in this demo, I am using RabbitMQ message broker. There are a lot of other message brokers like Azure Bus. Anything you can want, you can use it for asynchronous communication between the microservices. And here you can see API gateway. So API gateway is nothing but another small application where we are going to have a single domain. Okay. You observe here microservices are individually hosted, right? So their endpoints or domains will be different. So if we have n number of microservices we want to consume in our UI application, then we have to define n number of domains and their URLs. But whereas if you use microservices, sorry, API gateway, we can map all our microservices endpoints into the API gateway, and our UI applications, our client applications, simply invokes the gateway API gateway application. So API gateway will communicate internally with the respect to microservice and deliver the response to the client. Okay, so we are going to accomplish a small microservice application in this series based on this diagram only. Okay, so our second video is on creating the products API microservice. Okay, and third video will be the creating the order API microservice. Okay, and fourth video will be the synchronous communication between the microservice 1 and microservice 2. Okay, and final video will be the implementing the API gateway. So that is the flow of our this microservice .NET 6 series. Okay, so that's about the introduction of microservices. So I'm going to close this video by creating databases for my microservice application. So here you can see there is a database, manufacturer database, and sales business database. Okay, each database is consumed by respective microservice, right? So I am going to show some scripts to create the tables and the database for the respective microservices. Okay, so create database for microservices. So let's create two SQL databases like manufacturer or sales business. If you want to use MongoDB, you can use that as well. Any database if you want. I am using just SQL database. Okay. Each database will be used by the microservices. Okay. So each database will be used by the respective microservices. So this is the script for in the manufacturer database. I want to create the products table. Okay. This is the products table. It will have columns like ID, which is a primary key, name, cost, description, and created date. So this is the script for my product table. And here you can see here sales business database and table name is orders. So this is the script for orders table inside of the sales business database. Okay. So it contains ID, user ID, product ID, and order date. Okay. These are my sample database and the tables. So that's all about the small introduction of microservices in .NET 6. So in this series, this is the first video about the introduction. And then in the next video, I am going to create a microservice that contains product API endpoint. Okay. So I think this video has delivered some useful information to you all. So if you like my video, please support me by subscribing to my channel. Soon we are going to meet with new videos. Until then, signing off.